Welcome back to the Thanksgiving Tournament Expert Division opening round, hole number 3. Here we're going to use a Titan or a Kingmaker setting up for a B52 rough bump. Uh, with that being said, you can use a Grizzly, preferably 9. Uh, but B52 6 plus is recommended. You can use Grizzly, 7 or 8 plus. However, uh, you could end up between clubs if you're using Grizzly. So I would recommend that if you're going to use a Grizzly, then you ought to be using a P4, either Wind 1 or Wind 2 P4. I'm sorry, Wind 2 or Wind 3 P4 if you have it, or even a P5, Wind 2, Wind 3, just to make sure that you don't get caught between clubs if you're using the Grizzly. That's the reason we're using the B52 because this drive can get way different rollouts depending on the bounce, the wind angle, the wind strength, all of those things combined on the drive. There's some drastic changes, a lot of dips and humps on the fairway where we're landing, so we're not seeing a whole lot of consistency in the drive. Uh, with that being said, in most cases, 99% of the time, with a perfect, you're going to be rolling out onto the fairway and have a shot up at it at the Albatross if you're playing with a B52 and a P3 ball. Even if you get stuck in the rough short, I was still able to reach the green with a Nirvana and a P3 ball using some backspin to try and, backdoor the Albatross. So even though I got stuck in the rough once, I was still able to reach safely for the easy eagle with a chance still at the Albatross. We're doing a no move target shot here, starting with a P3 ball. So if you're going to use a P4 ball or P5 ball here, start the hole with your P3. I'm not sure if it'll put you in a different place or not using a different power level ball. So just to be safe, open up the hole with a P3. And then if you'd like, you can switch to a higher power ball for a slower needle speed and for less chance of being stuck between clubs on the approach. Uh, what you're going to want to do here is push up as per wind strength. If your wind is like 8.5 or lower, you want to ideally you want to keep the winds 8.5 or higher, right? That's what we're calling for here. So switch between a Kingmaker and a Titan as needed. A lot of times, even with the Titan, I was getting 8.2, 8.3. If that's the case, you're still good. You can still play the shot, but most likely you're going to get a shorter rollout for your approach shot. But you definitely don't want to play anything less than 8. Also, there's a hard crosswind angle in the drive. So if you if you're paying attention to the plus yards when you're adjusting your shot, you're almost always going to pull down below the plus yards. Occasionally, I did have wind angles where I only pulled down to the +1. That's a good indication that you got the crosswind angle. If you catch the crosswind angle, I would definitely recommend always pushing it up to max or adding a little bit more top spin. But be careful because it just depends on the kind of bounce you get. If you catch a speed roll and you add more top spin, you might blow right through everything. So, you know, just take that for what it's worth. I've been pushing up to max for everything 8.5 or lower, 8.6 to 8.9. I've been pushing up to the top of the 15. 9.1 to 9.2. I've been pushing up to the top of the 14, and then 9.3 plus. I've been pushing up back up to the top of the +13. So after you adjust, I know you're not going to be in plus yards, but you'll push up to the plus yards that I just stated. Sometimes your second bounce is gonna clip the rough. You'll roll out to around I think at 427. Sometimes your second bounce hits the fairway, your third bounce clips the rough, and you just roll barely out. And you're around 410 to 417. Sometimes you'll catch a speed roll and you'll end up, you know, almost 500 or over 500. Just depends on what you get here. So it's kind of finicky as far as the approach shot goes, but our base elevation for the approach shot is P3 plus 5% at slider. I'm starting with I'm first of all, I'm always using two right spin, starting with 1.5 top spin as my base spin. Sometimes you're going to be in plus yards like I am here. If you're in plus yards, uh, when you're set up, I recommend that you add 0.2 to your adjustment, or instead of offsetting right center, offset right edge. So the standard, this is the standard setup when you're not in plus yards. This is what you want it to look like. You want half of the blue ring into the fairway here at the bottom. You want the ball guide to be going through the right center of the cup by about a cup. If you see, I'm just touching the line that's above the hole with the tip of my ball guide there. This is the proper setup for all the shots. Now, if you're set up in plus yards and you're set up this way, then you need to add 0.2 to your adjustment. Uh, if you'd like, you can change the offset for being in plus yards and just instead of being right center, then just split the right edge of the cup with the ball guide. So you'll be, a few clicks over to the right. If you get a longer rollout, there's a couple of checks we have here. The bottom of the white ring touching the fairway fringe line below the hole is one, and then bullseye pin check is another. I'm going to go over those quickly uh, because it's a lot of information. While I'm doing that, I'm going to show you the shot. Pull this one as straight as possible. If you pull too much 01, you're probably going to miss it to the right. And if you pull too much 59, you're probably going to land short. You'll still most likely clip the rough, but you'll be short of the hole on the rollout. So a bullseye pin check here. 0 is 28, plus 1 is 29, plus 2 is 31, 3 is 32, 4 is 33, 5 is 34, plus 6 at the pin is 36, 7 is 37, 8 is 38, and 9 is 39. If you're doing I'm sorry, it's not the bottom of the white ring. I said earlier, it's a bullseye on the front green fringe. So the top of the fringe closer to the hole, but on the front of the green. Bullseye front green fringe check numbers are plus 0 is 57, plus 1 is 58, 2 is 59, 3 is 61, 4 is 62, plus 5 is 63, 6 is 65, 7 is 66, plus 8 is 68 slider, and plus 9 will be 69% slider. If you're in plus yards, plus 1 is 83, 2 is 85, 3 is 88, 4 is 90, 5 is 92, 6 is 94, 7 is 96, 8 is 98, and plus 9 is 100. So I'm always starting out and always using two right spin. Set up, make sure that half your blue ring is kind of into the fairway, and then readjust your top spin as needed so that your ball guide is about 1 cup through the hole. P3 plus 5% at slider. You're always going to want to use B527 numbers in your app, even if you're playing this with a Grizzly. Uh, and you're always going to want to use P3 numbers in your app, even if you're playing this with a P4 or a P5 ball. Use the charts that I provided. Keep P3 plus 5 in your app, no matter what ball you're using, and use the plus yard and slider numbers I gave you, and it should work just fine. It is a finicky shot because there's so many variations to the drive, but this gives you a great opportunity, great chance for the Albatross using free to play Kingmaker or Titan. So good luck. I hope you all get the drop, and we'll catch you on the next one.